Hi, this is Sarah Levin, the Artful Inker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I've got alternates 1 and 2 for the October 2021 Paper Pumpkin Kit Peaceful Christmas. Let's get started. For this alternative, I'm going to bring in some scrap paper, and then I've got a piece of the vellum that had the trees in it, and the die-cut trees were the part we were using. And then I've got a piece of basic white cut to the same size, and I'm just using a piece of washi to hold that vellum down. And then we're going to use Versamark ink, and I'm going to hold the bottom of this piece of vellum, and I'm just pouncing up and down. I don't want to scrub back and forth because some of the parts of the vellum are kind of delicate cuts, and I don't want the vellum outside the lines. So okay, let's close that up and put it out of the way. And now let's carefully lift the vellum out of the way and put it off to the side here. And then I've got heat and stick powder that I'm going to sprinkle on this. I see I've got a little bit of Versamark down here at the edge. So we'll sprinkle all over with the heat and stick, and since I had that vellum at the edge, I'm going to not sprinkle towards it, or dump towards it as I get that off. Okay, so now the heat and stick goes back in the jar. Put that out of the way and close that up, and then let me grab my heat tool off to the side here. And I'm going to turn it on low and get it heating. And then I'm going to heat from the back so that I can see this just as soon as it turns. You want to move the heat so it begins to get a little shiny, and you want to move the heat. Because with heat and stick, you don't want to overheat because then it's no longer sticky. Okay, almost finished this half. And then I need to transfer this around so that I can get to the other half of the image. I'm hoping that you can see this as it turns on camera. I'm not sure you can. And I've got it on low so that I can move just as soon as it turns. On high, it heats so fast that it quickly becomes overheated. And now I've got my piece of scrap paper again. Let's show you. Can you see that it's shiny? Okay, and then we're going to use some of the gilded leafing. And put the lid back on that. And then I've got a sponge dauber, and we're just going to burnish this right into the heat and stick. And we get this absolutely gorgeous row of trees by using the vellum that's left over as a stencil. Oops. And then we want to carefully move the rest of this off. Don't wave your cardstock around, because those light little pieces of leafing, you'll just blow them around, and there's no need. But isn't that just, I think that's stunning. Okay, so let's take this and open up the leafing. And we're just going to put this right back down in and close it up, and we're ready to move on to the next step. So then I've got the shaded spruce card base from the kit, and we need to cut this down. So I've got my handy paper trimmer here, and I'm going to put this in at, let's see, full width would be 4 1/4, and I don't want it at 4 1/4. I want it at 4 1/8, which means it will be leave just a little bit here beyond the score line, and then 5 1/2 is the full length, so I want 5 3/8. Okay. And let's just set these pieces aside. Now, there's no sense putting this whole piece behind our card, so I'm going to stick this in at 1 inch, and I'm going to start my blade at 1 inch. Let me take a piece of white cardstock here so that I can see my 1 over here against a dark background. Okay, and then I'm going to come down where I leave 1 left. So this was 5 3/8. So I'm going to come down to 4 3/8. I'm moving my white cardstock so that I can see that. So right here. Okay, let's flip and do the other side. I'm sticking it in at 1 on the right hand side. Let's put my cardstock here so that I can see where 1 is. And I'm going to start and then move my cardstock down. I could have used a larger piece of cardstock, but that's okay. Okay, so down to 4 3/8. And then I'm going to turn this to 1 and put this at 1 and come down to 3 1/8. And that should get me right on the cut line so that they meet up here. And 1 here. Pop that back in. Lift that up and then start pressing at 1 down to 3 1/8. Okay. And then we've cut a frame. Okay, and this piece we're going to cut. I'd like it to be 3/4 of an inch. Okay. And now we're ready to assemble our card. So we're going to use a thick basic white base. And then I've got this frame, and let me grab my dimensionals over here. And actually putting dimensionals on the wrong part. I want the dimensionals on my frame here. And then we're going to put a couple of dimensionals in the middle of this white piece. Okay, so flip this over, and then we're using the multi-purpose glue right along the edge here. And that guarantees that we will be on the frame and not out somewhere else. Okay, so let's center that on here. And just give that a good rub all the way around. And now we're going to take our backing pieces off. Okay. And straighten this up on my grid paper. Of course, grid paper is available in my Stampin' Up! Store. I always have a pad of that on hand. Okay. And then we should do one last bit of stamping. I'm sorry, I forgot we needed the sentiment for this. So I've got my Shaded Spruce ink pad. Now, Shaded Spruce is the ink that came in the Peaceful Christmas kit. Just checking to see that that's well inked. Okay, that looks good. Stamping Holiday Cheer. Let's close up that ink. And then I'm going to use the Tailored Tag punch. Oops. And let's see, we want to center this and make sure it's straight. Okay, and now we're ready to finish. Okay, so we've got our gorgeous trees that we did at the beginning, and then I'm going to cut this piece in half. And let's put a little bit of adhesive behind each half. And I went dimensionals behind my trees. And you may be asking yourself why I put the adhesive on those pieces first. And it's so that once I put this down, I can go ahead and stick them right in place. Okay. Okay, so we're going to center this piece. And then let's take this, and I purposely did not put dimensionals along the edge here so that I could slide this under. And then I'm going to come across and slide this one in. And that way I haven't had to use a full strip of the green and cut another piece from my card base. I'm not doing a very good job making this straight today. There we go. Okay. And then let's give this just a little bit more. We're going to put dimensionals on the sentiment. And I do need a double over on the right-hand side of the sentiment. Okay, and then we're going to use some wonderful gems. These have some pretty little glitter inclusions in them. And we're going to go with the clear that have the little bit of gold in them. Just using my take your pick tool. And there we go, just enough little blingy to add something to this first alternate for the Peaceful Christmas paper pumpkin kit. Let me clean up and I'll be back with another. I was so happy to see the second card in this month's Peaceful Christmas paper pumpkin kit, because one of my favorite designer papers in the mini catalog is the Peaceful Place designer paper, and this is a very similar pattern. So we're going to cut this card base to 4 by 5 1/4. Save these pieces and put this out of the way. And then I'm going to take a Hippo and Friends die. I love their 3 sets of different shaped label dies in that set of dies. An awesome basic. And we're going to trace the outside of this die. Let me move my finger here so that I can keep going around and change my okay, and right up here to the end. These dies have a nice little embossing line on some of these, so they cut and emboss, and then the other shape, one of the shapes has stitching on it, so they are one of my favorites. So we're just going to cut this out by hand using my trusty paper snips, and we're just cutting right on the line. So that makes for easy cutting. Remember, you're turning paper, not scissors, which gives you a smoother cut line. And the other thing that helps is not closing the scissors all the way so you don't get a lot of little choppy motion. Okay, and let me just check for a little bit of pencil line. I do have that, so let me bring in my eraser. And I've got this gray kneadable eraser that picks up pencil beautifully. And you can find that in the drafting section of your office supply store. And we're ready to put this card together. So I've got a thick basic white base, and it is cut 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. And then I've got our Peaceful Christmas layer and a piece of real red. And the real red is cut at 4 1/16 by 5 5/16. And this is just going to give a very narrow border on here. So we just makes it stand out just a tiny bit. Okay, and then need some dimensionals on the back of this piece. And with this design, of course, you can get 2 cards out of that beautiful single card from the October kit. And if you're one of my Paper Pumpkin subscribers, you will receive the Beyond the Box tutorial bundle just after the 1st of next month that will have some exclusive tutorials for you. Okay, so then we have our layer here, and I've cut a piece of basic white with the die from Hippo and Friends, and I'm going to add a couple of dimensionals, and by a couple I mean 3, on the back of our basic white die cut layer. And this just gives us a nice little border around here. Oh, I'm out to the edge, so let's cut a couple of these loose and use them up. Okay. And then I'm going to want to add just a little bit of this Real Red sheer ribbon. You can find this in the Stampin' Up! Mini catalog that runs through the end of December, or you can find it using the link in the description below that will take you to my Stampin' Up! Store if you're here in the United States. Okay, and let's add a mini glue dot or 2 to this. We want one for the inside to hold this together. And come on, there we go. So let's fold this back. I want to fold it so that it stays apart at the end here. And then let's do another run at picking this one up. Okay. And we're just going to set that down, take these backing pieces off. And this is going to live right down here. Okay, and then I've got the Noel from the kit, and I'm just going to dot on some multi-purpose glue. And let's make sure this is straight. It'll make putting this down easier because we want to kind of center this and of course make sure that it's straight. Okay, and even though this has the little foiled bling on here, I'm going to go ahead and add a few little basic rhinestones to kind of bring that out a little more. And I'm just using my Take Your Pick to transfer some of these. Let's bling down in here. And maybe one more. Oops. Chasing this one. Okay. And there we go. Just a nice, clean alternative with a little pop of red. Thanks for stopping in today. This was Sarah Levin, the Artful Inker of theartfulinker.com. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with your card making friends. When you subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell, you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. And of course, if you're not yet a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, use the link in the description below the video, and you'll get my Beyond the Box tutorial bundle as well as each month's kit. Have a great day. Bye.